And so obviously we're going to have tough conversations to figure out how we work together with law enforcement, those who are on our campuses. We don't want to see our students being criminalized, but we also know that there are real safety needs that do require, in some cases, having a way to keep students safe. And so we're going to be taking on those tough conversations. We're going to be talking with experts to see the data and what it shows. We'll be pushing the idea of alternatives like more restorative justice programs, more social emotional learning programs, those who have the experience to do de-escalation. And absolutely, we should have more counselors for those who have a mental health need, who have a need for support. I will mention that I've convened a coalition of counseling groups in the state to help us think through how we fill gaps that currently exist at many of our schools, to support our students in many ways. Yes, to help them deal with issues related to race and trauma or what they may have experienced, but also to help them deal with the things that they have experienced due to the coronavirus impacts. We know that during distance learning, many of our students experience depression. Many of our students experience high rates of suicide. And we have to provide ways to provide counselors. Many of our students didn't even have the opportunity to check in because they might have been with their families trying to get basic support needs. And so we are going to use this opportunity with this counseling coalition to look at ways to fill some gaps in the short term while we can build long term a robust funding structure that allows us to have more counseling programs, more psychologists at our schools, more social workers, and more social emotional learning programs. Stay tuned. We have a lot of work to do, but the Counseling Coalition will help us in the near term.
Thank you, Superintendent. Our next question is from Sonali Kohli at the LA Times. Do you have thoughts on the use of pepper spray, carotid holds, and other weapons or use of force in schools?
Yes, I believe that the use of those tools should not be used in our schools. I know that there's legislation that would ban the use of the carotid hold. I support it. I applaud Assemblymember Gibson for bringing that forward. I applaud those schools that have already taken the action, including LA Unified, to say that pepper spray will no longer be used. These are tools that should not be used in our schools. And I support the effort to remove them from our schools.
Thank you. And we have one more question from Kiet Do at CBS San Francisco. And she asks if you have any thoughts ahead of the vote at Oakland Unified School District to dismantle the Oakland School Police Department.
Well, we'll be watching the vote very closely. I've worked in the Oakland School District for many years as a partner in a school-based mental health organization. Obviously, I think that Oakland, like many districts, needs more programs that will support students. There are questions still about how to keep students safe. And so the board has a very complex position ahead of it. They have the task, as I see it, to do a great thing, to say that they don't want the criminalization of students. They also have to think through, if there's not going to be police on campus, what will the alternatives be and how will they have safety? I'm aware that there are some districts in our state that have already gone through this action long before this conversation, in past years. Many of those school districts made the decision to remove all their school resource officer programs, but they didn't create an alternative program. And what they found as a result, they had to come right back to the same policing model on campus. I get the hard decisions that are ahead of us. That's why I'm emphasizing all of our conversations should be focused on research and data. I'm grateful to West Ed and many of the other groups that are going to be a part of our task force hearing to focus on research-based approaches and alternatives to support our students.
This next question is from Erica Harden. She asks, related to research, will you also be looking at hard data that schools may benefit from school resource officers?
The question is, will we look at hard data that shows that schools benefit from having school resource officers? We'll be approaching the data in an open way. We'll start with the question about what are the safety challenges that our schools face. And we will ultimately look at the question of, in the case of having school resource officers on campus, does that in fact create safety on our campuses? We will be delving into and diving into the research? That is the fundamental question that we must answer. And if the answer is yes, we still have to answer the question, how do we offset any increase in arrests or suspensions or exclusion of our students? And so we'll be taking a very broad view of what the research shows. And I have to be honest, there's a limited amount of research. And so we intend to really commission new research and work with partners who have research. And I'll make the call one more time to anyone who has research to share, data trends to share, data points to share. We welcome getting that at Reimagine Safe Schools at cde.ca.gov.
Right. I want to thank our members of the news media for being here this morning. Again, a quick reminder that our next scheduled media briefing with the state superintendent will be on July 15th. Barring any other announcements in between now and then, we'll, of course, let you know. I'll hand it back over to our state superintendent for any closing remarks.
Thank you, Daniel. Just want to thank Californians for continuing to persevere. I know these are tough times and there are many challenges ahead of us, but as I always say, we're stronger together. And if we keep our conversations together, we can do more together for our 6 million students. This is a moment with urgency. I'm proud of our efforts to roll out our campaign on implicit bias. We have to move quickly because we know that there have been many challenges that we've experienced directly in our communities. I want to invite those in the community to follow us at the California Department of Education website and on Facebook. And just know that we're all in this together and we're working together to support our 6 million students. Continue to be safe and continue to be well.